October. So we're talking horror films. And the filmmaker, Tim McCLELLAND, he's here. My apologies, Tim, we're running late on the show today. But we've got a good audience watching. Let's take a look at this teaser for The Second Signal, which is now like playing festivals to accolades. But let's take a look at the 1-minute trailer for The Second Signal before we bring on the filmmaker, Tim McCLELLAND. You had me at VHS camcorder. That's all I want to say, because I used to have one of those old school VHS camcorders. Let's bring on the director. Tim McCLELLAND is joining us. Tim, hey, you were very early. Early, and I appreciate promptness. I appreciate your promptness. That's great. Thanks for joining us on the show. Tell us about Second Signal, because I see quite a few awards there.
Thank you, Chris and Alan. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you perfect.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you again. Tell us about, first of all, like all of these awards. Obviously, you've been to a lot of horror film festivals and film festivals with your film.
Yes, sir. We started with the Telluride Horror Show, I believe, which we made it into in 2020, which was wonderful, except that was a pandemic year, so it was a virtual festival. I did not get to go to Telluride, which was disappointing, but did later on get to go in person to the Santa Fe, the local Santa Fe Film Festival. Played at the Jean Cocteau Theater that's owned by George R.R. Martin.
Wow.
It's a really nice theater too. The sound was amazing in there. And then we did another show in a small film festival in Austin, which we flew to. It was all right. Austin, I think, has some problems, but first time I'd ever been there. But that was an interesting experience. And then the last showing was in Albuquerque, where I live, at the Dark Red Film Festival. That was last year, and that was the end of our film festival run. And now the film is available to watch on my YouTube channel, Snakes and Funerals. So check it out, please. Won't cost you a thing.
But we will put the link to your channel in the description of this episode and the clip that will run on our interviews channel. So we started an interviews channel where we take all of our interviews with indie filmmakers. I know a lot of people who watch our channel love these interviews. We're archiving them on a separate channel. Subscribe to Film Threat Interviews. Look it up. It's on our main channel. But Tim, what led to this? And tell us about, first of all, how do you even find a working camcorder? Because I had one in the 80s that you could use. Also, I loved my camcorder because you could use it to play videos too. It was also a VCR in addition to being a camcorder. And look, I took a lot of videos of stuff when I was a kid. I love that camcorder.
Yeah, well, I also grew up in the 80s, and so my first camera was a VHS. I think it was even VHS-C. Remember that?
Oh, I remember.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
And then when I was a teenager, like 17, I started doing wedding videography with the upgraded to Super VHS, which is anyway. So that's how I learned all about this equipment that is all obsolete. We never use it anymore. But yeah, recently I've I've become a little more. I've kind of gone back in time and unearthed that stuff, and I don't know. I guess I just want to escape into the '80s, like a lot of people do right now. So,
well, there you go. So tell us about. We've got some questions from our audience. We've got like 350 people watching live. Let's go to some questions from our audience.
Yeah.
Ron Smith says, "Please tell us more about the story of the film."
Okay. Thanks, Ron. So about 5 years ago, I lost someone to self-deletion, I guess we should say, on YouTube, and I went through kind of a dark period of grief and just, well, not knowing what was real, quite frankly, for a while. And then after I became functional again, it really motivated me to, record, to capture this feeling in film. And
Well, I'm sorry for your loss, and I'll just say that making art or making something or focusing on a project can be a way of healing. It can be a
yes,
self-healing. So that being the inspiration is really interesting. What is the woman in the what is she? She's filming a rock. What
yes.
significance is the rock?
It makes a little more sense in the film, but she is an avant-garde video artiste who makes does you see it earlier in the film. She just does different things with inanimate objects. So she was starting to get to work before then the mysterious second signal interrupted.
All right. We've got a lot more questions here. The nerd far away asks, "Hail, Mr. McClelland. Why do you like making horror films?"
I've always had a great passion for films, and horror films are a lot cheaper to make than science fiction. So there's that. But there's always an audience for horror, like in especially in low budgets, like we're talking about. It's a great genre for filmmakers to enter into the business. So, and also, of course, I'm just a horror fan from way back.
And I think horror goes through, I mean, after the events of 9/11, horror
Yeah.
became like the number one genre. You see how living through difficult times, horror is a way of dealing with things in a safe way, because we're not actually talking about the thing, but in a way we're actually talking about the thing. From Rumble, we have a
Yes.
lot of people watching us on Rumble. 8Ellis24 asks, "The aesthetic and tone of this trailer is perfect." Oh, that's a great
Thank you.
comment. Also,
I got to
from
ask you,
sorry.
there's a large video element to it, but the film feels very cinematic. Were there
Yes.
challenges in kind of going back to, getting video to actually work and to be able to film it?
Yes, well, the video that's actually shooting the movie, a completely different system. I shot that on the GH5, and it's the reason why it looks cinematic is because I have an anamorphic adapter in front of the lens. It's a Sancor 16. It's a vintage anamorphic film projector lens made in the 60s or 70s. So that kind of gives the digital cinema a real cinematic feel. It softens everything. There's
Did
lots
you
of
have problems?
it's a
Did you
pain
have
to work with.
challenges going back to video? Sorry. Yeah. Did you have challenges going back to video? And it's clearly you've done some significant filming of the
Yeah.
story on video.
Yeah. It's not my first film, but I did have a lot of practice going into this. I'm currently in IATSE, and I work on I do like art direction and stuff for big movies. But so all of the video equipment you see in the film, that's not wasn't mine. I bought it or collected it over the few years. It's not like what I used to work with. I just bought a bunch of new stuff and okay. So first thing I'll tell you is like all the batteries for those cameras, they're all dead. Like you have to run AC to do those, to use a VHS camera. I don't know what the solution for that is going to be, but yes, there are some technical challenges to working in analog.
Another question here from Solomon Thornton, who asks, greetings, Sir Tim. Any advice for beginning filmmakers?
Yes, make films. The more films you make, the better you're going to get at it. That's definitely the thing. But you've also got to follow. And then you've got to promote your film, like I'm doing right now. And Film Threat's a great way to do that.
Well, I'll say this: yeah, that's a great piece of advice. Another thing is just finish the film. The reason we're sitting here talking to you is because you finished the movie. And I have to ask, Snakes and Funerals, is that your YouTube name? Because I reckon, have you been in our chat before?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, I know that we've chatted like during a live stream before. That's great. Thank you.
Chris, I've been a fan of Film Threat since the print days. I used to, back in the 90s, when I was working with these VHS cameras, I had my other job was working at Barnes and Noble. And I used to always get very excited when Film Threat came in. I used to display it quite prominently in our magazine rack. It was an inspiration to me then, and just as Film Threat is an inspiration to me now.
That's so great to hear, because I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people who used to work at bookstores that would like take Film Threats and put them in front of Premiere or Entertainment Weekly. So I love that. Let's see more comments and questions here. So let's go through them. Ryan Landis says, what is the channel again? I found a Snakes and Funerals channel, but no movie there. We're going to put Tim, if you could send me the link, the direct link to the, we'll share it.
I just posted it in the chat.
Let's see. I just posted the link to the movie in the chat.
Great.
I don't know if that's clickable, but
we'll share it in the description. So Ryan, we got you. Razorburn asks, hail Tim, what was the inspiration for the film? What horror films were you into?
Specifically for this one, I would Videodrome is definitely an inspiration, and I love David Cronenberg's work. What else did I see recently? That I've always been a big fan of zombie movies. Night of Living Dead's one of my favorite films. I can't remember a time when I didn't like horror movies, even like the kaiju films, like Godzilla, and like you were just talking about.
Well, I can't recommend that new Godzilla series, unfortunately. I wish I could, because I am a big fan of Godzilla. But other questions here. Patrick Lemire asks, it must have been tempting to use a video emulator. Did you use A/B emulation versus the real deal? So how did you get that video look? Did you use the camcorder itself?
Yes, I used the camcorder. I used the camcorder to record whatever it is we're showing on, and then I played it back on a actual tube TV. There's no shortcut. There's no way around that currently. If you want it to look like that, you can't just slap a filter on your HD footage and make it look analog. You've got to actually do it.
I agree with you. I really don't like that when there'll be like an image on the TV and clearly it's shot on film and they just sort of scope it. I hate.
Or they add like really thick scan lines.
Right.
Like, that's no.
That's not how it works. You gotta authentically use the thing. These are like my pet peeves in movies is that, and then also using a fake phone number, like my number's 555. It takes me out of the movie.
It does. Yes.
Be real. Okay. Sean Hu for 742 says it's Snakes and Funerals with an ampersand.
Yes, use the ampersand.
Yeah, there you go. All right, we'll get it right. And it's going to be the link is in the description.
Thank you, sir.
8Ellis24 asks, how active has the indie filmmaker scene been in Albuquerque in the past decade since the end of Breaking Bad?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. It's going very well here. We have, back it up. So after the inspiration for the film, then we skipped over production. So going into production, you can't make a film alone. You've got to get help. You've got to have friends. You've got to have Alejandro Montoya is my friend. He has a role in the film. So, and like I've helped him. I've done like screen replacement type stuff for like technical post-production work for him. Matt Page was a producer on my film. I worked as an art director on his first feature, Cop versus Killer. So that's what's going on in Albuquerque right now. There's other people doing lots of exciting things here. We have the Netflix studios headquartered here now. Hopefully we keep getting Hollywood business to come in, because that's how I make my money. So
you work on the sets of bigger productions that come to Albuquerque?
Yes, in a minor capacity, yes.
That's great to hear. I mean, like as a film, that's why like when I meet people who work on films, it's like you're all filmmakers.
Yeah.
Everyone has some ownership of that, and there's so much you can learn working with other filmmakers, because there are many different correct ways to do things. I mean, there's wrong ways of doing things, but there are many correct ways of doing things, different correct ways, and everyone, learns. It's a learning process as you go to just get better. And I should remind you also, by the way, your film is actually eligible for award this next year.
Oh, nice.
So it's eligible in our best short category. So there you go. A couple more questions and comments here as we wrap. From Rumble, a Rumble rant, Caveat Ties supporter for $2 says, did you write it yourself or work with a group or hire? If you had help, what do you look for in a writer?
I have a degree in English, so writing is something I like to do for fun, though you got to remember, as an indie filmmaker, you can have it all perfectly worked out in the scripts, and then you get to making the movie and everything's different. And you're going to have to be adaptable. You're going to have to change to make it work in the circumstances you're given. And you need to listen to your collaborators, your actors. And when they tell you, like, I don't like this line, I don't feel like I don't like this, you got to be able to change it to give them something that they can work with.
Well, first of all, I got to thank you, Tim McCLELLAND, for coming on the show, telling us about your film, The Second Signal. We're going to put a link in the description so you can watch the short. You can also subscribe to Snakes and Funerals. That's Snakes and Funerals with an ampersand.
Yes, please do.
And you can reach out to Tim there. Tim, you're eligible now for award this next year. It's
Sweet.
for in 2024, which will be a lot of fun. And I want to thank you for coming on the show and talking to us. So timing could not be better. A horror film short during Halloween, or during the Halloween season, October, is perfect timing. So thanks for joining us on the show. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Chris and Alan. Thank you so much.